Okay. Good morning, friends. कैसे हैं दोस्तों? My future chartered accountants. Good morning, Gunjan. Gunjan, I will discuss the case Durga Prasad and versus Baldev Dao in next class definitely. And good morning, Gul Sayyed, Manjunath, Abhinav, Saurabh, Gunjan. Good morning, Beta, Ruchita, Keshav, Jansi, Anand Kumar, Suhani, Anshita. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I don't want to waste the time to take the name of all of you, because in the last class there is a problem and I have to complete the session in a speedily manner. So good morning from my side to each and every student. Good morning, everyone. Please excuse me, I'm not taking your name. Okay, let's start the test. But before test, we will have the revision of the unit 2 consideration. So section 2, clause D, what it defines? Consideration. When at the desire of promiser, the promisee or any other person, has done or abstained from doing something, such act or abstinence or promise is called consideration for the promise. So promise means something in return, right? It may be act, it may be abstinence, it may be a reciprocal promise, right? Yeah, it may be a written promise. Legal rules. First point, consideration must move at the desire of promiser only, but consideration may move from the promisee or any other person. Consideration may be past, present, or future. Consideration need not be adequate. It means law says there must be consideration in the contract, but it is equal to the worth. It is not required. Consideration must be real and competent. Consideration must be something which the promiser is not already bound to do. I think you remember the example of doctor. Consideration must not be illegal, immoral, means bad collector, or opposed to public policy. Right? The following are the cases in which a third party, which is not the part of the contract, even that it can file the suit for consideration. First is in case of trust, the beneficiary can claim. In case of marriage settlement, in case of acknowledgement of liability, in case of assignment of contract, in case of agency, and in case of transfer of immovable property, restricted points or covenants with running with the land. The following are the 7 cases in which the contract, even without consideration, is valid. First is a written and registered agreement based on natural love and affection between near relatives. The important point in this line are written and registered. And is important. It should be written and also be registered. Promise to pay voluntary service is binding. That is the past consideration. Promise to pay time bar debt. No consideration is required for agency. Gifts, no consideration required. In case of bailment, no consideration required. In case of charity, no consideration is required. Okay. So good morning, everyone. One person is asking, sir, please tell us homework before leaving the class. Homework is just only that what I have discussed with you. You have to revise. That is the only homework. Acceptance must be absolute and unqualified. Absolute means जितनी क्वांटिटी के लिए ऑफर हुआ उतना ही आपको एक्सेप्ट करना है, कम नहीं कर सकते. Kush are saying, sir, there was problem, technical issue on Saturday. Do you have any idea, beta? I don't have any idea. Sorry. वॉलंटरी मीन्स अपनी मर्जी से. Sir, if we exchange goods in place of goods, it is valid consideration. Definitely yes. Sir, whether we have to write an answer in Hindi, बेटा ये तो आपके ऊपर है. आपने अगर जो मीडियम चूज किया होगा उसमें आपको आंसर करना है. Completed gifts means gift given and the accepted by someone. अब मान लीजिए आप किसी को गिफ्ट दे रहे हैं, कोई गन फंस गया था ना, मालूम एक फेमस एक्टर फंस गए थे, किसी ने गिफ्ट किया उनको एक गन, तो उनको जेल हो गई. तो एक्सेप्टेड, कोई आपको गिफ्ट दे रहा है और आप एक्सेप्ट नहीं कर रहे हैं, तो दैट इज नॉट कंप्लीटेड गिफ्ट. द लास्ट डे पीडीएफ इज नॉट ओपनिंग. आई थिंक आज टेक्निकल एरर खत्म हो गई है वो. डेफिनेशन कैन बी आस्क्ड. डेफिनेटली यस, कैन बी आस्क्ड. Sir, major 95% student understand clearly Hindi, but only 60% student understood proper English. It doesn't matter, beta. I am trying to explain everything both in English and Hindi. So please don't be panic. Bailment I have discussed. So let's start the, क्योंकि otherwise query आपकी खत्म नहीं होंगी और हम टॉपिक खत्म नहीं कर पाएंगे. Let's start the test. So please prepare the sheet. Sir, we have to memorize all the theory. Definitely yes. आपको तो memorize करनी है बेटा. आप law सीख रहे हैं. You are going to understand. You are going to learn the law. So you have to memorize the provisions. Should we just listen or writing two is necessary? Both are necessary, beta. You have to write the answer in your exam. Nothing. No one is there to listen your answer. So first question before you. The term consideration in legal terms is defined in section 2 clause A, 2 clause B, 2 clause C, 2 clause D. A very simple question for all of you. The right answer is section 2 clause D. Next question. Which of the following statements are correct? Which of the following statements are correct? Consideration may be past, present, or future. Consideration may be either positive or negative. Consideration must move at the desire of promiser. Consideration must be furnished by the promisee himself. The meaning of second point, consideration may be either positive or negative, means consideration may be for doing something or not to doing something. So you have to select the right answer. The right answer is D. 1, 2, 3 are correct, but fourth is not correct. Consideration must be furnished by the promisee himself. This is not correct because consideration may move from the promisee or any other person. Next. The forbearance to sue is regarded as invalid consideration, no consideration, valid consideration, none of these. The right answer is forbearances to sue is regarded as a valid consideration in the law. Next, A found B's purse and gave it to him. B promised to give rupees 500 to A as reward. In this case, B's promise there is past consideration, present, future, no consideration. Please read carefully. I am just asking about B's promise. What is the consideration for B? Past consideration, present consideration, future consideration, no consideration. What B is getting? Definitely the right answer is past consideration, because at the time when the contract was done, we have already received the consideration, we have already received the purse which was lost. Next, an agreement without consideration between parties who are in near relations to each other is valid and enforceable if the agreement is in writing, registered, based on natural love and affection, all of these. What would be the right option? The right answer is all of these. Without consideration, should be in writing, registered, and based on the natural love and affection. Next. For the enforcement of the promise to pay a time-barred debt without consideration, which of the following condition is not required? Not required. Writing, in writing, must be definite and express, must be signed by the promiser, must be registered in a court of law. The answer is D. It is not required to be registered in court of law. It should be writing, express, and signed by the promise. Next. As per the rule of privity of contract, a stranger to a contract cannot sue, a stranger to consideration cannot sue, a stranger to contract can sue, none of the above. The answer is, as per the privity of rule of privity rule, a stranger to a contract cannot sue. Must move at the desire of promiser. Which one? Offer, acceptance, consideration, or obligation? The right answer is consideration must move at the desire of promiser. Next. There can be a stranger to consideration, cannot be a stranger to consideration, must be a stranger to consideration, must always be a stranger to consideration. The answer is there can be a stranger to consideration. Last question of the test. No consideration, no contract does not apply to completed gift. True, party true, false, none of the above. The answer is it is true. That is, no consideration, no contract does not apply in the completed gift. This is the exception of the this point. No consideration, no contract. So this was the test. Come to the main slide. Unit number 3. Sir, online MCQ assessment does not open. How can we open it? I think there may be some technical issue. So you can write to ICI, and definitely ICI will resolve it by the evening. सौरभ सर आप टैक्स कंसल्टेंट हो सौरभ बेटा आई डू एवरीथिंग whatever a chartered accountant can do, so don't worry. Okay, please no need to send the answer. This is self assessment test बच्चों. Mr. Aditya Pal saying, sir, we have to make own notes. It depends on you. Each and every student had different way to get the study. So please do what you want. MCQ भी आते हैं क्या? मैंने बताया था 1 या 2 नंबर MCQ आ जाते हैं, बट यहाँ जो पर्पस है MCQ of just to get revise what we have discussed. Why are you sending answers, बेटा? चलिए आगे बढ़ते हैं. The topic is Unit 3 is other essential elements of contract, and 2 lectures are for this unit. Overview of the unit, other essential elements of a valid contract. Actually, the different part, 4 main topics in the unit. First is capacity to contract, second is free consent, third is lawful consideration and object, and fourth is not expressly declared void. So we will discuss these points today and the next lecture. In capacity to contract, 3 points to be discussed. Major, what is the meaning of major, sound mind and not disqualified by law. In case of free consent, we will discuss coercion, section 15, 16, 17. Coercion, undue influence, fraud 17, misrepresentation 18, mistake. So let's start with the first part, capacity to contract. So what is the meaning of capacity to contract? So capacity means competence of the parties to make a contract. Means whether party is capable as per the law to be the part of the contract. क्या party जो contract कर रही है, one is making offer, second is accepting the offer, क्या वो काबिल है as per the law जो contract कर सकती है? So law says, first point, who is competent according to law. Question is who is competent according to law. यानी कि कॉन्ट्रैक्ट के अकॉर्डिंग कौन कौन कॉन्ट्रैक्ट कर सकता है. तो सेक्शन 11 of the Indian Contract Act 1872 says every person who has attained the age of majority and is of sound mind and is not otherwise disqualified from contracting is competent to contract. What it says, it should be major, it should be of sound mind and not specifically disqualified by law for contract. Major है, sound mind है, but law specifically mentioned that this person cannot enter into contract. he is also disqualified. If we get the analysis of this section, we find, in other words, following person to be incompetent. Section 11 says who are competent. Now we are discussing who are incompetent to contract. One is minor, second is person of unsound mind, and third is person specifically disqualified by any law of which they are subject. So we will discuss one by one. Who is minor? Minor कौन होता है? As per the law says, as per Indian Majority Act, a person is a minor is a person who has not completed 18 years of age. It means every person below the age of 18 is minor, and the person of 18 and above is major, right? Now question arises, below the minor, who is the below the age of 18 is called minor. Minor means kids, child, bacha. And who is kid? Kid is like a god, reflection of the god. Normal people say a kid is like a god, bacha bhagwan ka roop hai. So let the minor means just a kid who has not completed the age of 18, yani ki under 18. So I have mentioned some pics, beautiful pics of the person who are under the age of 18. What is the position of a contract with minor? This is the important part of this of contract with minor. First is position of contract with minor. First point, a contract made with or by a minor is void ab initio. Underline कीजिए void ab initio. In the first lecture, some of you have asked what is the meaning of void ab initio. So meaning of void ab initio means void from very beginning. Void from very beginning. Initio means initiation. Listen, when you are thinking about contract, it means the first part is there must be two parties, and one party is minor. The contract is void from the beginning. सोचते बेकार है, contract void है. That is contract from very void from very beginning. A minor is not competent to contract, and any agreement with or by a minor is void from very beginning. There was a famous case and benchmark case of Mohri Bibi versus Dharmdas Ghosh. In this point, so first we should understand what are the facts of the case, and then we find out the decision of the case, results of the case. Mr. D means Damodar, Dharmdas Ghosh. Mr. D, a minor, mortgaged his house for rupees 20,000 to money lender, but the mortgagee, that is money lender, has paid only rupees 8,000 and told that she will pay rest 12,000 in the next day. Subsequently, the minor had filed a suit for cancellation of the contract on the plea that he is minor and the contract with minor is void. Hence, the contract is void as D is minor and therefore he is not liable to pay anything to the lender. So we come to the detail in the what was the case. A person, Mr. Dharmdas, is the age of 17 years. Went to a money lender in his village, Mrs. Mohri Bibi, with the paper of the land that he want a loan of 20,000 on the security of the land. The money lender, Mohri Bibi, gave him 8,000 on the same day and promised to pay 12,000 the next day. But next day, Dharamdas Ghosh went to the court and filed the case against the Mohri Bibi by the statement that he is minor and the contract with minor is void. Court finds that the Dharamdas is minor, so therefore, as per the law, contract should be void. Mohri Bibi gave his views, give his argument that the Dharamdas has cheated because he told her that Dharamdas is major, but actually he is not major. So the contract should be valid and the punishment should be on the Dharamdas. But court says minor cannot be punished. Minor has a right to give the plea of the minority. Again, Mohri Bibi told, okay, the contract is void. I will return the papers of land, but I need back my 8,000, what I have given to him. When court asked Dharamdas for the 8,000, Dharamdas told that the money was not with him, that he expended the money. Now, as per the Indian Contract Act, minor is not liable to return the amount because law says minor के संग कोई भी any contract minor is void and minor is not liable to return the benefit taken by him. केस को मैं हिंदी में लेके आता हूं. एक 17 साल का लड़का था, 17 साल का धर्मदास. उसने अपनी जमीन के पेपर लिए और एक जो महाजन होते हैं गांव में, मनी लेंडर, उनके पास गया और उनको कहा कि मुझे लोन चाहिए 20,000 रुपए का और मैं ये अपने प्रॉपर्टी के पेपर मॉर्गेज कर रहा हूं, एज ए सिक्योरिटी दे रहा हूं. मोहरी बीबी ने पता किया, उससे पूछा कि आप बच्चे हैं या माइनर हैं. उसने कहा नहीं, मैं एज 18 साल की हो चुकी है. और इस विश्वास पर मोहरी बीबी ने उसे 8,000 रुपए दिए और कहा कि 12,000 मैं आपको कल दूंगी. अगले दिन धर्मदास कोर्ट में गया और कहा कि साहब मैं तो माइनर हूं, मेरे संग जो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट हुआ है वो वॉइड होना चाहिए और मेरे पैसे जो मेरे कागज है लैंड के वो मुझे वापस दिलवाए जाए. कोर्ट ने सुना सारा केस और कहा कि धर्मदास तो माइनर है तो एक कॉन्ट्रैक्ट वॉइड है और मोहरी बीबी उन पेपर्स को वापस करे. मोहरी बीबी ने कहा, अपनी बात रखी और कहा कि ये तो इसने मुझसे छुपाया कि ये माइनर है, इसका पनिशमेंट तो इसे मिलना चाहिए. लॉ ने कहा नो, माइनर को पूरा राइट है इस चीज को छुपाने का, क्योंकि बच्चा तो भगवान का रूप. ने कहा कि मुझे वो 8,000 तो वापस दिलवा दो. तो लॉ ने कहा देखो 8,000 रुपए अगर उसके पास होंगे तो वापस करेगा, अदरवाइज वो आप उसे क्लेम नहीं कर सकती. इन द सेम वे जब धर्मदास से पूछा गया कि वो 8,000 लौटाओ, धर्मदास ने कहा वो तो खर्च हो गए, 8,000 तो खर्च हो गए. तो अब मोहरी बीबी उनसे क्लेम नहीं कर. सो समरी ऑफ द केस, summary of the position of a contract minor, that minor has only rights, nothing liability. कोई liability नहीं है उसके. This is the very much important case. Please remember this case, Mohri Bibi versus Dharamdas Ghosh. What is the summary? Any contract with the minor is void, and minor can be, and minor is not liable to return the benefit anyone, anything he has get. जो भी बेनिफिट मिला है उसे लौटाने के लिए वो लायबिल भी नहीं. क्लियर इतनी बात. सेकंड इज नो रेटिफिकेशन आफ्टर अटेनिंग मेजॉरिटी. प्लीज रखना कीजिए रेटिफिकेशन. रेटिफिकेशन मींस कंफर्मेशन. लॉ सेज इफ कॉन्ट्रैक्ट इज एंटर्ड बाय ए पर्सन, लॉ सेज if a contract entered by a person at the time of his minority cannot be confirmed even after he becomes the major, because at the time of contract he was minor and at that point the contract was void, and void contract cannot be converted into a valid contract. If at the time of majority minors become the major, Now he wants to say something to confirm that contract which was entered by him in the time of minority. So that cannot be confirmed. There will be a new contract when he becomes the major. See the example. X, a minor, makes a promissory note in the name of Mr. Y. X एक minor है, X is a minor, and he makes a promissory note in favor of Mr. Y. On attaining majority, now Mr. X becomes the major. He makes a new promissory note in place of old one. Here the new promissory note was executed, which is he executed after attaining majority, is also void, being without consideration. See, at the time of minority, Mr. X made a promissory note for Y for something. For example, Mr. X purchased some goods from Y and makes a promissory note in favor of Y at the time of minority. So when X was minor, so Y cannot claim anything from X. X becomes major. Now he writes again a new promissory note. But it is also invalid because at the time of making the contract, there is new contract. And when X is writing a promissory note, what he is getting? He is getting nothing. So the contract is become without consideration and again the void. माइनर थे, उस समय कुछ सामान खरीदा होगा, उसके बदले में जो पेमेंट करना था उसके लिए उन्होंने एक प्रॉमिसरी नोट लिख दिया, किनके नाम पर? वाई के नाम पर. तो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट तो क्या हो गया? वो वॉइड एब इनिशियो हो गया, वाई क्लेम ही नहीं कर सकते. जब एक्स मेजर हो गए तो उन्होंने कहा ठीक है मैं एक नया प्रॉमिसरी नोट लिख देता हूं इस काम के लिए जो आपने मुझे माल बेचा था या एट द टाइम ऑफ माइनॉरिटी, राइट. बट ये जो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट हुआ प्रॉमिसरी नोट का एट द टाइम माइनॉरिटी, ये भी वॉइड हो गया क्योंकि वो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट जो माइनॉरिटी का था वो वॉइड था, सारी चीजें खत्म हो गई, वो बिल्कुल एंड हो गया. अब जो नया कॉन्ट्रैक्ट हुआ उसमें एक्स तो पेमेंट कर रहा है प्रॉमिसरी नोट के रूप में, लेकिन व्हाट ही इज गेटिंग, उसे क्या मिल रहा है? कुछ नहीं. तो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट क्या हो गया? अगेन वो वॉइड. क्लियर? तो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट मेड एट द टाइम ऑफ माइनॉरिटी कैन नॉट बी कंफर्म्ड इवन आफ्टर गेटिंग द मेजॉरिटी. Minor can be beneficiary, can take the benefit out of the contract. Though a minor is not competent to contract, but nothing in the contract act prevents him from making the other party bound to the minor. As per the law, minor cannot be liable, but he has rights. If any contract is entered with the minor has all the rights, but he is not liable for anything. See the example. A promissory note duly executed in favor of minor is not void and can be sued upon by him because he, though incompetent to contract, may he yet accept a benefit. एक प्रॉमिसरी नोट बना किसके फेवर में? माइनर के फेवर में, यानी माइनर को राइट है उस प्रॉमिसरी नोट को क्लेम करने का. तो इन दिस केस माइनर हैज द राइट नॉट द लायबिलिटी. द कॉन्ट्रैक्ट इज वैलिड. माइनर कैन क्लेम द अमाउंट फ्रॉम the person who has given the promissory note. But one more thing, a minor cannot become a partner in a partnership firm as per the Indian Contract Act. However, he may, with the consent of all the partners, may be admitted to the benefits of partnership as per the section 30 of the Indian Partnership Act 1932. See, for partnership provisions, partnership purpose, Indian Partnership Act 1932 is the specific act, and Indian Contract Act is the general act. So, for particular point, if there is a specific act, that will prevail over the general act. As per Indian Contract Act, that is general act says the contract with minor is void, so minor cannot be partner in the partnership firm. But a specific law says, the section 30 of the IPA says minor can be partner for benefits only with the permission of all the partners, then it is clear. So if in the question it was asked whether a partner can be, whether a minor can be the partner, So as per Indian Contract Act, no, but as per Indian Partnership Act, it may be for the benefits only, with the permission of all the partners. A minor can always plead minority. I will already discuss in case of Mohri Bibi versus Dharmdas Ghosh. A minor can always plead minority and is not stopped to do so even where he has taken any loan or entered into any contract by falsely representing that he was major. Even वो झूठ बोल रहा है तब भी लॉ उसको बेनिफिट दे रहा है. अब ये क्वेश्चन नहीं आना चाहिए सर भाई, ये तो लॉ है. लॉ ने बेनिफिट दिया माइनर को कि even he hide his age, he says he is major but actually he is minor, even that he can be benefited, he cannot be claimed. In case of Mohri Bibi versus Dharmdas Ghosh, Mr. D misrepresented his age and money lender has paid him rupees 8,000, but the court did not stop him from denying that he is minor and therefore he is not liable to pay the amount of 8,000. Right? Next, position of a contract में. Next, contract for supply of necessaries. For necessaries, there are four types, four things are considered as necessary in the law: food, cloth, shelter, and education. Food, cloth, shelter, and education. Roti, kapda, makan, shiksha. Law says these are the necessaries for a person. Even the minor is liable to pay for them out of his own property. Out of his own property. See the example. Shruti, being a minor, purchased a laptop for her online classes for rupees 70,000 on credit from a shop. But her asset could pay only 20,000. You may say that there is only 20,000 in her bank account. The shopkeeper could not hold Shruti personally liable and could recover only 20,000. Minor is liable for necessaries but only up to the asset with him or her. Minor चार चीजों के लिए पर्सनली लायबल है, लेकिन जितना पैसा उसके पास है, उसके माँ बाप लायबल नहीं होंगे. His parents will not be liable for those amounts. जितना पैसा उसके पास है उसके लायबल. एग्जाम्पल नंबर 5 में श्रुति ने एक लैपटॉप खरीदा 70,000 रुपए का और उसकी उधार खरीदा, लेकिन उसके पास 20,000 थे, तो दुकानदार शुरू कितना क्लेम कर सकता है? 20,000. 50,000 के लिए श्रुति को फोर्स नहीं कर सकता. 50,000 के लिए श्रुति के पेरेंट्स को फोर्स नहीं कर सकता. वो केवल उतना क्लेम कर सकता है जितनी की उसके पास एसेट है, वर्थ. राइट? नेक्स्ट, a minor can enter into a contract of partnership. I have discussed. I am not discussing once again. I have already discussed. 7 point, minor cannot be adjusted insolvent. Who is the insolvent? Insolvent, the person who cannot pay his debt. Insolvent कौन है? Insolvent वो person है जिसे हम बोलते हैं दिवालिया, जो अपनी liability चुकाने में सक्षम नहीं है. He is not solvent. He could not solve his liabilities, called insolvent. So minor, because the minor is not liable to pay anything, because the minor is not liable to pay anything, how he could be insolvent? He is not liable to solve anything, how it could be insolvent? जब minor के ऊपर कोई liability नहीं है, तो वो दिवालिया कैसे हो सकता है? So minor cannot be adjusted insolvent by any court because of incapability of contracting. Minor cannot bind parents or guardians. Simple meaning, in simple words, the guardians or parents of a minor are also not liable for the liabilities of minor. In the absence of authority, express or implied, a minor is not capable of binding his parents or guardian even for necessaries. The important line, the parents will be held liable only when the child is acting as an agent for parents. Something, my son is just 11 years old and I asked him to purchase something on my behalf. Now I am liable because he is purchasing, he is buying on my behalf. He is working like agent for me. नॉर्मल केस में माइनर के पेरेंट्स लाइबल नहीं होंगे माइनर के कामों के, माइनर की लाइबिलिटी। लेकिन अगर पेरेंट्स ने माइनर को अपना एजेंट बना के भेजा है किसी काम के लिए, उस केस में पेरेंट्स लाइबल होंगे। फॉर एग्जाम्पल, मैंने अपने बेटे से कहा कुछ खरीद के लाओ और बोलो, दुकानदार को बोला पापा ने कहा है, पापा ने मंगाया। इस केस में मैं लाइबल होगा बिकॉज माई सन इज वर्किंग लाइक एजेंट फॉर मी। सी, Richa, a minor, entered into a contract of buying a scooty from the dealer and mentioned that her parent will be liable for the payment of scooty. The dealer sent a letter to her parent for money. The parents will not be liable for such payment as the contract was entered by minor in their absence and out of their knowledge. Richa has purchased a scooty without the permission of the parents and ask the shopkeeper that the parent will make the payment. Whether the shopkeeper can claim the amount from the parents? Answer is no. Because for the acts of the agent, acts of the minor, parents will not be liable. They are liable only if the child is working as an agent. Suppose in this case, the parents have allowed Richa to purchase a scooty, and they confirm to shopkeeper that Richa is allowed by him to purchase a scooty. Now, in this case, parents will be liable. Richa ने एक स्कूटी खरीदा, लेकिन दुकानदार से कहा कि पैसे तो पापा देंगे। क्या दुकानदार पापा से क्लेम कर सकता है? आंसर इज नो। पर मान लो रिचा के फादर ने दुकानदार को बोला, भैया मेरी बेटी आ रही है स्कूटी खरीदने, दे देना। इन दिस केस पेरेंट्स, इट मींस फादर विल बी लायबल फॉर मेक द पेमेंट ऑफ द स्कूटी, बिकॉज जो बच्ची को भेजा गया ऐसे एजेंट भेजा उन्होंने, पिताजी ने, और इनको इन्फॉर्म किया दुकानदार को मालूम पड़ गया कि जो बच्ची आ रही है वो जस्ट एज ए एजेंट। ठीक है बच्चों। Minor can be agent. I have discussed minor can be agent because the ultimate liability of the principal. If I sent my son as an agent to purchase goods from the shopkeeper, the person who will be liable, I will be liable. Son will not be liable because son was just an agent for me. A minor can act as an agent, but he will not be liable to this to his principal for his act. A minor can draw, deliver, endorse, negotiate instrument without himself being liable. It means in simple language, if minor is working an agent, he will never be liable. The principal will be liable. A minor can have an account in the bank. A minor can have an account in the bank. He can draw a check for his purchases, but he shall not be liable for check bounces, nor can be sued under the court of law for any fraud done from his simple. Minor चेक साइन कर सकता है, बट अगर चेक बाउंस हो जाता है तो उसमें माइनर की लायबिलिटी नहीं आएगी, ये लॉ कहता है। राइट बच्चों। नेक्स्ट पॉइंट, in case of any contract jointly entered by minor and adult, for example, me and my son, only the adult will be liable, minor will not be liable. If one person becomes the surety for a minor, guarantor, in a contract of guarantee, when an adult stands surety for a minor, then adult is liable to third party as there is direct contract between surety and the third party. Let's say I inform the shopkeeper my son is coming to purchase the goods. If he will not pay, I will pay. So I am giving my statement as I am the guarantor of the contract. In this case, if my son does not pay, I will have to pay because I am the guarantor for the contract done by my son. Mr. A guaranteed for the purchase of a mobile phone by Krish, a minor. In case of failure by payment by Krish, Mr. X will be liable to make the payment. मैंने दुकानदार को फोन किया कि भाई मेरा बेटा आ रहा है सामान खरीदने, अगर ये पे नहीं करेगा तो मैं कर दूंगा, कर देगा, माल दे दे. आई बिकम द गारंटर, मैं गारंटर हो गया. कौन लाइबल हो गया? फाइनली मैं लाइबल हो गया अगर मेरा बेटा पेमेंट नहीं. ठीक है बच्चों. माइनर एज ए शेयर होल्डर, क्या माइनर शेयर होल्डर होता है? वेदर ए माइनर कैन बी द शेयर होल्डर. द लॉ सेज a minor being incompetent to contract cannot be shareholder of a company. If by mistake he becomes the member, the company can resign the transaction and remove his name from the register. But a minor may acting though his lawful guardian become a shareholder by the transfer or transmission of fully paid shares to him. Normally law says if minor applies for share to the company and company gives allotment wrongly, doesn't idea कि he is minor, in that case the contract will be rejected because the contract by minor cannot be done. But for example, I have transferred my share to my minor son. He becomes the rightful owner. Shares should be fully paid up, but he is will be owner under my guardianship. Mention किया जाएगा clause that the person who has the shares in his name is minor and other person, his parents, are as a guardian. Right? शेयर माइनर शेयर होल्डर नहीं हो सकता. शेयर के लिए अप्लाई करेगा तो कंपनी को रिजेक्ट करना है. मान लीजिए कंपनी ने गलती से उसको शेयर ट्रांसफर कर दिए, वो कंपनी को नाम हटाना पड़ेगा, उसका नाम रिमूव करना पड़ेगा. राइट? बट कोई शेयर ट्रांसफर कर देता है माइनर को, उस केस में माइनर ओनर तो रहेगा बट अंडर द गार्जियनशिप ऑफ ए पेरेंट्स. उसको मेंशन करना पड़ेगा ये पर्सन माइनर है अंडर द गार्जियन ऑफ ये उसके पेरेंट्स का नाम है. Liability for torts in civil wrongs. Please see the example. A minor was held liable for his failure to return certain instruments which he had hired and then passed on to friend. क्या केस है? A minor has hired some instrument and before returning to the original owner, he passed on to friend. Now minor is liable to take back the instruments from his friend and give back to the original owner. माइनर ने कुछ इंस्ट्रूमेंट लिए किराए पर किसी दुकानदार से और दोस्त को दे दिए. इसकी लायबिल कौन होगा? माइनर लायबिल होगा. माइनर को दोस्त से वापस लेने पड़ेंगे और वो दुकानदार को देना. अगर नुकसान होता है इस केस में तो माइनर विल बी पर्सनली लायबिल up to his estate, जितनी सी प्रॉपर्टी. So before starting second topic, I am just taking your problem, sir. What is the meaning of forbearances? Forbearance means something not to do. MCQ टेस्ट वाया पता नहीं क्या कहना चाहते हो आप. सर these notes are sufficient for exam. देखिए listen, these notes are just a summary of what you will find in your study module. So I think you must go through the study module for detailed study. ठीक है? These notes will definitely help to clear the exam, but you must go to the thorough study on the study module. Sir, can you tell us easy way to remember every section? Just write and read. Practice makes a man perfect. How to write the case study based question I will discuss in the last lecture, my last lecture on that is 10th lecture. सर ये कोर्स कब खत्म होगा? वेट एंड वॉच, बिफोर द एग्जाम खत्म ही हो जाएगा. डोंट वरी. Sir, where I got this PDF? I have uploaded that PDF. You can download from the site. Mr. Raghuram, I am speaking both languages. Don't worry, yaar. I am just repeating what I have given in English. I am repeating in Hindi. So don't worry. I am not giving anything additional in Hindi or in English. Sir, if minor's parents are liable to give back 8,000 rupees, the answer is no. I have already discussed. Minor will not be liable for anything done by the minor. Minor parents will not be liable. Are minors property not liable to pay the money? No. Because the amount is expended, amount kharch ho chuka, he is not liable. The contract between minor and minor are valid or void? Definitely void. सर धर्मदास घोष ने तो चीट किया है तो उसे पनिशमेंट मिलना चाहिए. दैट इज द सेपरेट लॉ बट नॉट इन इंडियन कॉन्ट्रैक्ट. Promissory note, I think you have studied in 11th or 12th in accounts. Sir, in example number 2, the promissory note written by X can be the past consideration, so it will be valid. But anything done at the time of minority is void. Okay. Estoppel I have discussed, beta. Subhalakshmi saying, sir, if a minor says that he is major and gives it in written, so will he be able to still plead his minority in the court as per the law? Yes. Difference between insolvent and bankrupt on your part, there is no difference. But detail में जाएंगे अलग बात है, but on your part, same. Minor has definitely right to plead his minority. Sir, I am confused allowed through sections and clauses. How to remember? बेटे जितना हो जाए उतना करो. Do what you can do, but don't mention the wrong section or wrong clause in your exam. Sir, when will be the super over? Super over will be after some time. Please wait. Okay. चलिए आगे बढ़ते हैं. फिर देखेंगे कहाँ तक पहुंचे हम. I will take some queries after this session. After second point. Okay. Before super over. Let's start. Sound mind. The question is, what is sound mind? Sound mind means the person is getting sound in his mind. आप जो बात कह रहे हैं वो समझ में आ रहा है, he is sound mind. You are giving the statement to him, and he is understanding what you are saying. Understanding, not listening. Understanding. Then he is called sound mind. And who is unsound mind? Who is not getting, who is not comfortable what you are saying. He is not getting. He is unsound mind. In normal language, mad, pagal is unsound mind. Section 12 says a person is said to be sound mind for the purpose of making a contract. At the time when he makes it, he is capable of understanding it and of forming a rational judgment as to its effect upon his interest. there are three types of unsound mind in the law. लॉ के अकॉर्डिंग तीन तरह के पागल हैं भाई. फर्स्ट इज idiot. An idiot is a person who has completely lost his mental powers. It means full 24 hours he is mad. And the contract with this person is void. Idiot is person who is completely mad, who is completely lost his mental power. You address na your friends idiot. Idiot means is completely pagal, completely mad. Second is lunatic. The lunatic is the person who is mostly time is mad, but sometimes he is sound. Lunatic means the person who is mostly unsound, but sometimes he becomes sound. The lunatic means the person who is mostly time unsound and sometimes he becomes sound. जो मैक्सिमम टाइम पागल रहता हो पर कभी कभी सही हो जाता हो उसे हम क्या बोलते हैं? ल्यूनेटिक. Remember the movie? A person who is usually of unsound mind but occasionally of sound mind. Now that person can make a contract only when he is of sound. Achha, listen. Maximum time he is of unsound mind. Sometimes he becomes a sound mind. So law assumes the contract was entered by this person at the time when he is of unsound mind. But this person says the contract is valid as he was sound mind at the time of making the contract. Now this person has to prove in the court that he was sound mind at the time of making the contract. क्योंकि ये पर्सन मैक्सिमम टाइम अनसाउंड रहता है, पागल रहता है, तो कोर्ट क्या मानेगा कि कॉन्ट्रैक्ट उसी समय हुआ था जिस समय ये पागल था, क्योंकि मैक्सिमम टाइम पागल है ये. लेकिन ये आदमी कहता है कि नहीं भाई साहब मैं सही था, बिल्कुल सही था, बिल्कुल दिमाग सही चल रहा था उस समय मेरा, तो उसे ही प्रूव करना पड़ेगा कि कॉन्ट्रैक्ट वैलिड है, मतलब कि कॉन्ट्रैक्ट उस वक्त हुआ जिस वक्त ये सही था. The burden of proof, the burden of proving of sound mind at the time of contract lies on the person who affirms it, who confirms the contract. जो ये कहता है कि contract valid है, the person who says the contract is valid, he has to prove the contract was entered at the time when he's of sound, right? Next one. Third is intoxicant. Intoxicant means the person who is usually a sound mind, but occasionally of unsound mind. Usually unsound mind, but he takes some alcohol, then he becomes the unsound mind. He is called drunken, intoxicant. हिंदी में क्या बोलते हैं उसे? नशेड़ी. नॉर्मली सही है लेकिन कभी कभी वो अनसाउंड हो जाता है, दिमागी काम नहीं करता है. And one more category, one more person in this category, the person incapable to understand due to age or disease. एक वो पर्सन भी आता है जो बीमार है या बुजुर्ग, क्योंकि वैसे सही है, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है, लेकिन कभी कभी उसकी प्रॉब्लम हो जाती है, वो समझ नहीं पाता है चीजों. तो this is the person who is usually of sound mind but occasionally of sound mind, may not make a contract when he is of unsound, right? So law क्या कहता है? In this case, because the person is maximum time is sound, so law will presume the contract was entered at the time when he is of sound mind. It means contract will presume the contract, court will presume the contract will be valid. But person says, sir, at the time of making the contract, I am not, I could not understand because of something, my age, I could not understand the contract. Now he has to prove that contract is invalid, that he was unsound mind at the time of contract. पर्सन क्या है, वो अनसाउंड, नॉर्मली साउंड माइंड है, मैक्सिमम टाइम साउंड माइंड रहता है, लेकिन कभी कभी कुछ लगा लिया तो वो अनसाउंड हो गया, दिमाग काम नहीं कर रहा है। तो लॉ तो ये प्रिज्यूम करेगा कि भैया कॉन्ट्रैक्ट तो उस वक्त हुआ जिस समय ये साउंड माइंड था, मैक्सिमम टाइम तो भी साउंड था। अब वो कहता है कि भाई साहब नहीं, मैं उस समय सही नहीं था, दिमाग तबीयत सही नहीं थी, बीमार था, या मैं होश में नहीं था, तो अब उसे प्रूव करना पड़ेगा कि कॉन्ट्रैक्ट क्या है, वॉइड है। अदरवाइज कोर्ट क्या मानेगा, इसे वैलिड मानेगा। Burden of proof, the burden of proving of sound mind at the time of contract lies on the person who affirms. ये गलत हो गया, सही कर लीजिए इसको प्लीज, प्रिंटिंग एरर है ये। The burden of proof of sound mind at the time of contract lies on the person who denies it. प्लीज इसको काट दीजिए। ये हटा दीजिए प्लीज, रिमूव इट। In place of it, it will become denies it. And this will become unsound mind. Please make it correction. The burden of proving of unsound mind at the time of contract lies on the person who denies it. Right? Hopefully you have corrected. Now there's a last point. These are the person who are major, who are sound mind, but even that disqualified by the law to enter into the contract. These are the person who are major, sound mind, but disqualified to enter into the contract. First is alien enemy. Alien enemy means a person who is citizen of foreign country which is at the war with India. In the present time, there is no country in the war at India, so there is no enemy country. But law says a contract with the person, with the citizen of foreign country which is at war with India is void. But there are two conditions in this point. One is a contract made during the war, the contract is void. During the continuance of war, an alien can neither contract with an Indian citizen nor he can sue in the Indian court. Contract is perfectly void. Next, contract, second point, contract made before the war. It means the contract was entered at the time when there was no war. The contract may either be suspended or dissolved. Suspended means hold for some time, or dissolve means cancel. Dissolve means cancel. So these contracts may either be suspended or dissolved. All the contracts which are against the public policy or are of such that they may benefit the enemy will stand dissolved. But the contracts which are not against the public policy, they are merely hold, suspended during the war and will revive after the war, provided they have not already become time barred under the law of. सिंपल सा फंडा है, किसी दुश्मन देश के नागरिक के साथ, दुश्मन देश कौन है, जिससे हमारे देश की लड़ाई चल रही, दुश्मन देश के नागरिक के साथ कॉन्ट्रैक्ट करना वॉइड है। अगर कॉन्ट्रैक्ट जिस समय वॉर चल रहा है उस समय हो रहा तो डेफिनेटली वॉइड है, लेकिन अगर वो पहले हो चुका है और वॉर बाद में हुआ तो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट या तो खत्म कर दिया जाएगा या वो होल्ड पर डाल दिया जाएगा कुछ समय के लिए, या तो वो खत्म कर दिया जाएगा या होल्ड पर डाल दिया जाएगा कुछ समय के लिए। अगर कॉन्ट्रैक्ट ऐसा है जिससे देश को नुकसान पहुंचेगा तो वो कंप्लीटली खत्म कर दिया, लेकिन अगर ऐसा नहीं है तो वो होल्ड कर दिया जाएगा और वॉर खत्म होने के बाद वो वापस रिवाइव हो जाएगा, राइट। कॉन्टैक्ट विद फॉरेन रूलर्स, sovereigns, their diplomatic staff and representatives of foreign states. They can enter into contact and enforce those contacts in our court, but an Indian citizen has to obtain a prior sanction of the central government in order to sue them in our law court. But an ex-king can, however, be sued against in our court without any such sanction. What is the meaning? If suppose the president of America comes to India and stay in a hotel but does not pay the tariff of the hotel, in that case, whether hotel can file the suit. Law says yes, but with the permission, with the sanction of the central government. But now for example, but this is any ex-king, ex-president comes to India and stay in the hotel. Now he is the normal person. Only for present king. अगर कोई देश का राजा, कोई रूलर इंडिया में आता है तो उसके पे सूट फाइल करना, कॉन्टेक्ट कर सकता है, लेकिन सूट फाइल करने के लिए सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट की परमिशन चाहिए। और ये रूल पास्ट प्रेसिडेंट, पास्ट किंग पे एप्लीकेबल नहीं। क्या मतलब? सपोज अमेरिका के प्रेसिडेंट इंडिया आते हैं, एक होटल में स्टे करते हैं सपोज, बट वो होटल का बिल पेमेंट नहीं करते हैं, तो क्या उन पे सूट फाइल किया जा सकता है? किया जा सकता है, बट उसके लिए सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट की परमिशन चाहिए, राइट। लेकिन ये रूल पास्ट प्रेसिडेंट के लिए एप्लीकेबल नहीं है। फॉर एग्जांपल इंडिया के पास्ट, अमेरिका के पास्ट प्रेसिडेंट बराक ओबामा इंडिया में आते हैं और इंडिया में आने के बाद क्या करते हैं, वो होटल में स्टे करते हैं और होटल में स्टे करने के बाद बिल पे नहीं करते हैं, तो ही इज ए नॉर्मल मैन। द होटल मैनेजर, होटल स्टाफ, होटल मैनेजमेंट कैन फाइल द सूट अगेंस्ट द पास्ट प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ अमेरिका, राइट। नेक्स्ट, corporations means companies. Law says there are separate rules for corporation in the form of memorandum of association and the company's law. So they are separate laws. So that law will prevail. Indian contract will not be applicable for those cases. But general law will always be applicable in special case if something is missing in a special case. Law says भैया अगर किसी पॉइंट पर स्पेशल लॉ है तो वो एप्लीकेबल होगा, जनरल लॉ एप्लीकेबल नहीं होगा। लेकिन अगर कोई पॉइंट पर प्रोविजन लिखने छूट गए स्पेशल लॉ में तो जनरल लॉ एप्लीकेबल हो जाएगा। इंसॉल्वेंट, द इंसॉल्वेंट मींस द पर्सन हु इज नॉट कैपेबल to solve his liability, who is not capable to pay the liability. So the person who is already insolvent, who is already in a not position to solve the liability, to pay the liability, then how another contract will be considered by the court? लॉ कहता है भैया एक आदमी जो इंसॉल्वेंट था तो वो ऑलरेडी मना कर रहा था, मेरे पास कुछ नहीं है देने के लिए, आपने फिर कॉन्ट्रैक्ट कर लिया, और अगर आपने कॉन्ट्रैक्ट कर लिया तो फिर उस केस में कोर्ट आपके लिए हेल्प नहीं करेगी, आप उससे क्लेम नहीं। नेक्स्ट, कन्विक्ट, अपराधी। अ कन्विक्ट व्हेन undergoing imprisonment is incapable of entering into a contract. जिस समय वो अपराधी है, सजा याफ्ता, सजा काट रहा है, he cannot enter into contract. So before starting super over, we just taking your problems. Thoughts I have discussed: civil start, civil wrongs, pleading minority that take the benefit of minority, question is good. See, if Dharamdas Ghosh have 8,000 personally means in his bank account, whether he will be liable? Definitely. Break after this super over. Definitely you will get the break, but after this super over. Sir, our exam will be held in November, December. I think you should refer the examination sheet. Okay. First, every person is competent to contract who is the age of majority, age of minority, sound reputation, sound financial position. Second question. A drunken or intoxicated person is not competent to enter into contract as he falls in the category of person disqualified by law, person of unsound mind, person discarded by society, enemies of society. Next. On attaining the majority, an agreement entered into during his minority becomes voidable, become valid, can be ratified by him, cannot be ratified by him. Next. A minor can be declared as insolvent, cannot be declared as insolvent, can be declared insolvent for limited purpose, is regarded as insolvent under law. You have to send all the answer in one shot only, then I will take the name. A contract made by an idiot is valid, void, voidable, illegal. A person below 15, 17, 18, 21 is minor for the purpose of entering into a contract. So these were the question. Corporate, I have discussion the corporation in the person disqualified by law. Corporation means companies, sometimes companies, because they have some separate laws for their contracts. So they will be applicable. Contract normally will not be. Let's start the answers. Every person is competent to contract who is of the age of majority. Next. A drunken or intoxicated person is not competent to contract as he falls in the category of person of unsound mind. Next. On attaining the majority, an agreement entered during his minority cannot be ratified. Next. A minor can be declared as insolvent, cannot be declared as insolvent. The answer is cannot be declared as insolvent. A contract made by an idiot. content made by an idiot is void. Next, a person below the age of 18. Mr. Miss Lavanya, I will definitely discuss how to present in the exam in the last 10th lecture, so don't worry. So I received the answers. The first person who has given all the correct answer is Miss Gunshita Kesharwani. Second, Manvi Sharma. Mr. Polo Ju Prasad. Miss Anushka Agarwal. Miss Shubha Lakshmi. So congratulations to all of you who have given all the correct answers. So now we have the break of 5 minutes. We will rejoin after 5 minutes. Amit ji, Okay, welcome back बच्चों. Now we start the second part, free consent. So first we have to understand what is the meaning of consent and then what is the meaning of free consent. Consent section 13. Section 13 says consent means 11 for minority, major competent person. Second is for unsound, 12 is for unsound mind, and 13 for consent. I think we have discussed in the first lecture, two or more persons are said to consent when they agree upon the same thing in the same sense, and that is called consensus ad idem. Consensus ad idem. When there is no consent, there is no contract. Now, suppose there is contract, there is argument on the point of plant between A and B, and A is thinking about this plant, first plant, and B is thinking about A is thinking about this plant, and B is thinking about this plant. So there is no consent because they both are not agree on the same thing in the same sense. So if there is no consent, there is no contract. So first there should be consent. पहले तो कंसेंट होनी चाहिए. अगर कंसेंट ही नहीं है तो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट नहीं. ए और बी बात कर रहे हैं किसी कॉन्ट्रैक्ट के लिए प्लांट के ऊपर, पर ए बात कर रहा है पहले कॉन्ट्रैक्ट के लिए और बी बात कर रहा है दूसरे कॉन्ट्रैक्ट के लिए. दोनों को क्लियर नहीं है. भले ही दोनों एग्री भी हो जाएं, लेकिन आप दोनों का पॉइंट अलग है. They are not agree on the same thing in the same sense, so there is no contract. Free consent means consent तो है. If there is consent, but consent is not free. Consent is there, but consent is not free. So please you mark this for this point number 1 to 4. Contract is voidable. For this point, contract is voidable, and for fifth point, contract will be either valid or void. Please note. For point number 1, 2, 3, 4, contract will be voidable. For point number 5, contract either be valid or void. We will discuss each and everything. So consent is not said to be free when it is not caused by coercion, section 15, undue influence, section 16, fraud, section 17, misrepresentation, section 18, mistake, section 20, 21, and 22. Today we will discuss section 15 and section 16. Today we will discuss section 15 and 16, and rest section we will discuss in the next lecture. Let's start with the first section, first point, coercion, section 15. तो जो हिंदी मीडियम के लोग लिख सकते हैं, coercion means physical torture, उत्पीड़न. हिंदी में कहेंगे, in Hindi it is called उत्पीड़न. The consent is said to be caused by coercion when it is obtained by committing or threatening to commit any act forbidden by Indian Penal Code. Indian Penal Code, may all the crimes are mentioned, all the acts which are considered as crime in the law are mentioned in the Indian Penal Code, IPC. Second is unlawful detaining or threatening to detain any property. Unlawful holding or to threat to hold any property is called coercion. Coercion means कि जब consent कुछ ऐसे काम करके या कुछ ऐसे काम की धमकी देके ली जाए जो आईपीसी में प्रतिपादित है, प्रोहिबिटेड है, या फिर कंसेंट ली जाए किसी की प्रॉपर्टी को जबरदस्ती होल्ड करके या होल्ड करने की धमकी देके, तो वो कंसेंट क्या कहलाएगी, कोर्शन से इफेक्टेड कहलाएगी. In this case, contract is void. First we see the examples. Mr. X says to Y, Mr. X says to Y, I shall kill your son unless you agree to sell your house to me for rupees 5,000 only. X says, all right, I shall sell my house to you for rupees 5,000. Do not kill my son. Now X has employed portion. X ने Y के कान पे सिर पे बंदूक रखी और कहा, अगर तुमने अपना मकान 5,000 में नहीं बेचा, तुमने अपना मकान 5,000 में नहीं बेचा, तो मैं तुम्हें गोली मार दूंगा। वाई ने कहा, अरे भाई साहब मत मारो गोली, मैं मकान बेचने को तैयार। तो क्या कहा जाएगा लॉ में यहाँ पर कि जो वाई की कंसेंट है वो एक्स के द्वारा पोर्शन अप्लाई करने से ली गई, वाई की कंसेंट फ्री नहीं है। तो दिस एग्जांपल इज फॉर पॉइंट नंबर ए। नाउ द एग्जांपल फॉर पॉइंट नंबर बी। X says to Y, I shall not return the document of title. Document of title means ownership title, ownership document relating to your wife's property unless you agree to sell your house to me for rupees 5,000. Y says, all right, sir, I shall sell my house to you for rupees 5,000. Do not detain my wife's document of title. X ने Y से कहा कि अगर तुमने अपना मकान मुझे 5,000 रुपए में नहीं बेचा तो आपकी वाइफ के जो प्रॉपर्टी के पेपर है वो मैं आपको लौटाऊंगा ही नहीं, जब्त कर लूंगा, कब्जा कर लूंगा उन पर। वाइन ने कहा, भाई साहब ठीक है, आप प्लीज, मैं अपना मकान 5,000 में बेच दूंगा, लेकिन वो पेपर होल्ड मत करना। तो क्या कहा जाएगा? देयर इज कोर्शन बाय एक्स ऑन वाई। क्लियर? व्हाट आर द consequences of portion? Section 19 says, the contract is voidable at the option of party whose consent was so caused, and the person to whom money is paid or thing delivered under caution must repay or return it. Come to the previous example. In example number 8, X says to Y, I shall kill your son unless you agree to sell your house to me for rupees 5,000. Y says, okay, sir, I will sell my house to rupees 5,000. But please do not kill my son. Now, what happened? The house was sold for 5,000 and X gave the 5,000 to Y. Now, what are the consequences? Y has chance. Y has option to avoid the contract because this is voidable contract, and until Y does not file the suit for voiding the contract, avoiding the contract is perfectly valid. The contract is perfectly valid. ये कॉन्ट्रैक्ट क्या है? voidable है. Y चाहे तो void कर सकता है या नहीं करे. अगर वो नहीं करता है, शांत रहता है, तो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट क्या माना जाएगा? परफेक्टली वैलिड, क्योंकि इन दोनों के बीच में क्या हुआ किसे खबर है? कोर्ट को थोड़ी पता है. बिकॉज व्हाट हैपेंड बिटवीन एक्स एंड वाई डज नॉट इन द नॉलेज ऑफ कोर्ट. हु विल इन्फॉर्म द कोर्ट? वाई विल इन्फॉर्म द कोर्ट दैट देयर इज क्वेश्चन विद मी, दैट्स व्हाई आई हैव टू सेल माय हाउस फॉर 5,000 रुपीस. until that the contract perfectly valid. So the first consequence in this case, the contract is voidable at the option of Y. And second point, if Y has received anything, any benefit on this contract, he has to return back. It means Y has received 5,000, and if the contract comes void by Y, then Y has to return 5,000 to X. Contract voidable था Y की नजरों में, कॉन्ट्रैक्ट वॉइडेबल था वाई की नजरों में, वाई ने उसे वॉइड किया. अब अगर वॉइड कर रहा है तो वाई ने जो 5,000 रुपए लिए हैं वो उसे वापस लौटाने पड़े. सो दिस वाज द कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस. कॉन्ट्रैक्ट इज वॉइडेबल एट द ऑप्शन ऑफ द पार्टी हुज कंसेंट वाज सो कॉस्ट एंड द पर्सन टू हुम मनी इज पेड और थिंग डिलीवर्ड अंडर कॉशन मस्ट रीपे और रिटर्न. क्लियर? Now, burden of proof. Who has to prove? There was coercion. In the previous example, whether act will prove? No. Why have to prove? Why is the aggrieved party? प्रताड़ित व्यक्ति है. Why has to prove that his consent was not free? There was coercion by X on him. इस केस में जिसके साथ कोर्शन हुआ है उसे ही प्रूव करना पड़ेगा कि उसके साथ कोर्शन हुआ है, अदरवाइज कोर्ट इसे कोर्शन नहीं माने. क्लियर अपनी बात? नेक्स्ट, whether threat to commit suicide, it is coercion. Whether threat to commit suicide, is it coercion? You know, suicide is only the crime if successfully attempted, there is no punishment. But you attempted but not successfully, you will be punished by the court. But as per the law, suicide is a criminal act in IPC. Suicide is criminal act in IPC. But and section 15 says any act forbidden by Indian Penal Code. So suicide, threat to suicide is also a coercion. Suicide दुनिया में अकेला ऐसा क्राइम है जो सक्सेसफुली कर लिया तो कोई सजा नहीं मिलेगी किसी कोर्ट में, लेकिन अटेम्प्ट किया और बच गए तो सजा मिलेगी. राइट? क्योंकि ये क्या है, क्राइम है इंडियन पेनल कोड. और कोर्शन का जो सेक्शन है 15 वो कहता है कि कोई भी काम जो आईपीसी में मना किया हुआ है वो करते हैं तो वो कोर्शन न माना जाएगा. तो यही बात है कि सुसाइड की धमकी देना इज ऑल्सो द कोर्शन. राइट? सी द एग्जाम्पल where husband obtained a gift deed from his wife and son under a threat to commit suicide. The transaction was set aside. Set aside means cancel. Set aside means cancel on the ground of coercion, suicide being forbidden by the Indian Penal Code. Undue influence. Aggrieved party means the party with whom coercion was done. Okay. Priyanka, I will inform the ICI about not downloading of the notes. Definitely the problem will be resolved by evening. ठीक है प्रियंका? प्रियंका is okay? आगे बढ़ते हैं. Undue influence section 16. A contract is said to be induced by undue influence. In Hindi, the meaning of undue influence is अनुचित प्रभाव. अनुचित प्रभाव. In coercion, there was physical torture, but in undue influence, there is mental torture. What section says? A contract is said to be induced by undue influence where the relation subsisting between the parties are such that one party is in the position to dominate the will of other and uses that position to obtain unfair advantage of the other. What law says? The undue influence will be there only where in two parties, one in the position to dominate the will of other and takes the unfair advantage, and there is loss to the other. Undue influence जब माना जाएगा जब दो पार्टी के बीच में एक रिलेशन होना चाहिए, इस तरह का कि एक पार्टी दूसरे को डोमिनेट कर सकती हो उसकी इच्छा के विरुद्ध कोई अनफेयर एडवांटेज लेने. राइट? So what are the essential elements under this provision? Please note important point. One is there should be relation between the parties. If there is no relation, there is no chance of undue influence. राह चलता आदमी वो मुझे इन्फ्लुएंस नहीं कर सकता, मुझे डोमिनेट नहीं कर सकता. relationship between the parties. A person can be influenced by other when a near relation between the two exists. See the example. If there is no relation, near relation, there will be no chance of undue influence. Second point, the relation should be in the such manner. The relation should be in such manner that one of them is in the position to dominate the will of others. In such position that one person can dominate the will of other. A person is deemed to be in such position in the following circumstances. तो पहली बात तो ये हुई कि अनड्यू इन्फ्लुएंस के लिए दोनों पार्टी के बीच में एक नियर रिलेशन होना चाहिए, और दूसरी बात रिलेशन भी इस तरह का होना चाहिए कि एक आदमी दूसरे को उसकी इच्छा के विरुद्ध डोमिनेट कर। ये वो केसेस हैं जहां पर रिलेशन बताती है कि एक आदमी दूसरे को डोमिनेट कर सकता है। A person is deemed to be in such position in the following circumstances. First is real and apparent authority. Real and apparent authority. In the example, master and servant, doctor and patient, and something more. This is the inclusive. So this is the relation where one party can influence the other against his will. Against his will. Next point, fiduciary relationship. Online कीजिए. Fiduciary relationship means relationship of trust, belief. Relationship of trust, belief. Like father and son, solicitor and client, so it means advocate. Husband and wife, creditor and debtor. And next one is mental distress. Sometimes the person is in position, is in so mental distress, the other party is dominating him, taking the benefit of position. Where the mental capacity of a person is temporarily or permanently affected by the reason of mental or bodily distress, illness, or food. There are three types: direct relationship, fiduciary relationship, and mental distress. And third one is the object of the person is to make the undue advantage. Where the person is in the position to influence the will of other in getting consent, must have the object to take the advantage of. इस पोजीशन का फायदा उठाया जाए सिर्फ एक अनफेयर एडवांटेज लेने के लिए, उसका पर्पज ही ये हो कि मुझे इसका फायदा उठाना, क्योंकि भैया अगर फायदा नहीं उठाता है तो वो अनड्यू इन्फ्लुएंस है ही नहीं ना. सपोज if a doctor in the position to dominate the will of patient, but he does not take any unfair advantage, so there is no undue influence. See example: A advanced money to his son B during his minority, and upon B's coming of the age obtains by use of parental influence a bond from B for a greater amount than the sum due in respect of the advance. A employs undue influence. A ने अपने बेटे को कुछ पैसे दिए, लेकिन अपने ऐसे पिता होने के नाते उसने उसको डरा के ज्यादा पैसों का बॉन्ड भरवा लिया, तो इतने ज्यादा पैसे लौटाओगे हमें. कहा जाएगा पिता ने फायदा उठाया, डोमिनेट किया बेटे की बिल को और उसका अनड्यू एडवांटेज लिया, तो यहाँ पर कहा जाएगा कि अनड्यू इन्फ्लुएंस हुआ. राइट. One more example: an illiterate old woman who is physically ill and mentally distressed executed a gift deed in favor of his relative who was taking care of her. Now her relative is in position to dominate the will of old woman. Now old woman can do anything what the relative will say to do. Clear इतनी बात? What are the consequences of undue influence? section 19 capital A. First is contract is voidable at the option of the party whose consent was so called, whose consent was taken by using the undue influence. That party can avoid the contract. But if that party who can avoid the contract has taken some benefit, such contract may be set aside or if the party who is entitled to avoid it some benefit, then upon such terms and conditions as to the court may seem just and equitable. Let's see an example. The fees of an advocate is suppose 5,000 rupees for filing of income tax return. A person comes to the advocate for filing his return, income tax return, and advocate says, I will charge 50,000 from you. Because there was last date, the person says okay, and advocate files his return. But at the time of making the payment, he says, there's undue influence with me, I will not pay. So it is very much clear that there is undue influence. But as the person has taken the benefit, so what he has to pay to the advocate will be decided by the court. लॉ कहता है कि अगर कोई कॉन्ट्रैक्ट में कंसेंट ली गई है अनड्यू इन्फ्लुएंस से तो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट वॉइडेबल होगा और या तो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट खत्म कर दिया जाएगा उस पार्टी के द्वारा जिसके द्वारा वॉइडेबल है. लेकिन अगर उस पार्टी ने कुछ बेनिफिट लिया है तो कितना पेमेंट होगा उसका डिसाइड कोर्ट. कि साहब एक वकील की फीस 5,000 रुपए थी इनकम टैक्स रिटर्न फाइल करने की और कोई पर्सन आया उसने कहा मतलब 50,000 रुपए लूंगा क्योंकि आज आखिरी तारीख है. उसने ओके करा क्योंकि इसकी मजबूरी थी. ये तो क्लियर है कि अनड्यू इन्फ्लुएंस हुआ उस पर्सन के ऊपर, काम भी हो गया तो कैंसिल तो हो नहीं सकता. अब वो कितना पेमेंट करेगा वो कोर्ट डिसाइड करेगा क्या रीजनेबल पेमेंट होना चाहिए. क्लियर. हु विल प्रूव देयर वाज अनड्यू इन्फ्लुएंस? द पर्सन हु सेज देयर वाज अनड्यू इन्फ्लुएंस विद मी, ही हैज टू. कौन प्रूफ कर, किसको प्रूफ करना है कि अनड्यू इन्फ्लुएंस हुआ था, अनड्यू इन्फ्लुएंस हुआ था? उस पर्सन को जो ये कहता है कि सब मेरे साथ अनड्यू इन्फ्लुएंस हुआ है. The burden of proving the absence of use of dominant position to obtain the unfair advantage will lie on the party who is in position to dominate the will of. जिसका बेनिफिट लिया गया उसे प्रूफ करना है कि भाई मेरे साथ. क्लियर इतनी बात. Differences. One point, one of you have asked, section B can be considered for the point of differentiation. Yes, I have told that point, and that definitely section will be the point. Section 15, 16, nature, physical force, but in undue influence, moral pressure, relationship, no requirement of relationship in coercion, but required relationship in the undue influence, consent obtained under the threat of offense, but here consent is obtained by dominating the will. Who will exercise the coercion of undue influence? Coercion can be exercised by third person, but undue influence is employed by the party to the court. Clear? So the time for super over 2, but before it, I will discuss the problems, queries. Sir, we will be getting questions for exam only from descriptive questions of study material, which is given in the last of the unit or even from the middle of the study material. Okay, listen. It is not necessary that question will be from the study module, but the provisions will be from the study module. Pattern will be from the study module, but there will be same question. Is not possible. Unconscionable bargains. Unconscionable bargain means होता है unreasonable. Is it necessary to have the blood relationship? No, but should be near relationship. Whether to write the answer in exam in Hindi or English, this depends which medium you have suggested, you have selected. Okay. So super over 2 is starting. The term consent is defined in section 12, 13, 14, 15. Next is A threatens to kill B if he does not sell his scooter to him for rupees 1000 only. Here B's consent is obtained by undue influence, coercion, fraud, none of these. Next is undue influence is kind of mental coercion, physical coercion, both of these, none of these. Fourth, the fiduciary relationship means relationship of trust and confidence, senior and junior, none of these, both of these. Threat to commit suicide amounts to undue influence, coercion, fraud, misrepresentation. Next. To undue influence some sort of relationship between related parties, necessary, not necessary, identified, presumed. Sir, how can I join online MCQ? I never know when it's going on. I think in law there is no online MCQ. I'm just taking from my side. Sir, blackmailing comes under coercion or undue influence. Blackmailing is comes under coercion. Maybe third person can make the blackmail. But blackmailing, on the basis of blackmailing, if there is a contract, then the case arises whether coercion or undue influence. So you have to think, you have to watch whether the provision 15 will be applicable or 16. What are the details? So depend on the circumstances and details of the position. So to do the questions of these book note, will we have to make you? I think you decide whether you have to make notes or not. Okay. So let's start the answers. First is the consent is defined in section number 13. Next is A threatens to kill B if he does not sell his scooter to him for 1000 only. ये क्या है? Coercion. This is the coercion. Next. Undue influence is a kind of mental quotient. The fiduciary relationship means relationship of trust and confidence. Threat to commit suicide amounts to quotient. Next, to undue influence some sort of relationship between parties is necessary. So I'm taking the name of the person who have given the all the correct answer firstly. The new name this time for today, Mr. Rohit Dantalwar. Next is Miss Patel Kamlesh Bhai. Next is Mr. Poluju Prasad. Next one is Atharv Barnaval. Then Mr. Muhammad Barkatullah. Miss Dhavni Modak. Miss Singh Rajiv Kumar. So I think all of you most have given all the correct answers. So friends, one query from your side. Come to the point. अच्छी query है, something confusing. The burden of proving the absence of use of dominant position to obtain the unfair advantage will lie on the party who is in position to dominate the will of others. Listen, in this point, first the person has to prove that there was undue influence between him, and the other party will prove there was no undue influence. Okay? पहले तो उसे प्रूव करना है कि अनड्यू इन्फ्लुएंस हुआ है, तब अदर पार्टी प्रूव करेगी कोई अनड्यू इन्फ्लुएंस नहीं, जो इसका प्रॉपर एक्सप्लेनेशन है बेटा. Sir, why we acquire central government permission to sue? This is the law. How we can could change? Okay. So I think the time is up, and this was from my side for today's session. Hopefully you have enjoyed, you have loved the law. Thank you so much, and we will definitely meet in the next lecture with the test for today's session. Thank you so much, boys. Thank you so much, girls. Thank you, my kids. Thank you so much. Bye. Thank you.